On the day of the talent show, she betrayed her best friend in search of success. Years later, she was hospitalized and needed the help of the friend she had betrayed. Asheville, North Carolina, is known for its vibrant music scene and enchanting mountain landscapes. In this setting, we meet Emily and Jessica, two girls who grew up together and became inseparable. From a young age, they shared a dream to become famous singers. Their families were also deeply intertwined, participating in dinners and celebrations and supporting the girls at every local performance. Emily was the daughter of a frustrated musician who never achieved fame. Her father, John, projected his ambitions onto her, constantly pushing her to be the best. "Emily, you have a gift. Don't waste it," he would repeat, believing his daughter could achieve the dream he couldn't. Jessica, on the other hand, came from a more humble background. Her mother, Margaret, worked as a nurse and saw music as a form of expression and emotional connection. "Music is the voice of the soul, dear," Margaret would say, encouraging Jessica to sing with her heart. Both girls spent their childhood singing at local festivals and performing in live music bars. Their voices complemented each other perfectly, and the audience was captivated by their chemistry on stage. They spent hours rehearsing in Jessica's basement, where the acoustics were surprisingly good. Summer afternoons were spent writing lyrics and composing melodies, dreaming of the day their songs would be heard by crowds. Emily and Jessica's friendship was strengthened by a series of traditions and rituals they created. Every year, on the anniversary of their friendship, the two would climb to Sun Rock, a lookout point on top of a hill that overlooked the entire city of Asheville. There, they would sing their favorite songs and promise never to let anything separate them. "Forever, no matter what," they would say in unison, amid laughter and hugs. The girls' parents were equally close. John and Margaret always encouraged their daughter's musical talents, organizing small performances for the neighborhood and taking them to see shows by local artists. These experiences solidified Emily and Jessica's passion for music and reinforced their belief that they could achieve anything together. Flashbacks reveal sweet moments of friendship, sunny afternoons singing in the park, sleepovers planning their music careers, and promises to always be together. Memories of camping in Jessica's backyard, where the two dreamed big under the starlight, sharing their biggest wishes and fears. Family traditions continued to play an important role, with families celebrating together, unaware of the growing tensions. One such tradition was the monthly talent night at Margaret's house. Neighbors and friends gathered to watch Emily and Jessica's performances, which became the highlight of the evening. John always prepared his famous barbecue, while Margaret cared for the details, from decorations to snacks. The girls received praise and encouragement with each performance, reinforcing their certainty that they were on the right path. Jessica was always the more balanced of the two. While Emily was driven by ambition and the desire to be the best, Jessica valued music's purity and its emotional connection. "Music is about touching people's hearts," she would often say to Emily, who would smile in agreement even though her heart longed for the spotlight. As the years passed, the girls continued to grow together, facing the typical challenges of adolescence. Mutual support became even more crucial when they faced their first heartbreaks and academic difficulties. Emily and Jessica knew they could count on each other no matter what. Music was their refuge and their friendship, their fortress. The city of Asheville also played a significant role in shaping their personalities and dreams. The artistic atmosphere and vibrant local music scene fueled their passion for music. The bars and cafes where they performed gradually began to notice the girls' talent, attracting small groups of fans who appreciated their harmonious voices and sincere lyrics. Emily and Jessica always had each other as inspiration and support. They challenged each other to be better, to explore new musical frontiers, and to never give up on their dreams. This dynamic of friendship and healthy competition constantly pushed them forward. "We'll make it," Emily would say, confident, while Jessica would smile and respond, "Together, we can do anything." One night, after an incredibly moving performance at a local cafe, a businessman named Mark Wilson noticed Emily's talent and saw a profit opportunity. Mark was known for his greed and for exploiting young talents for his benefit. He observed the girls with a calculating eye, planning his approach. He didn't know how, but he was determined to make Emily a star and profit from it. However, at this point in the story, Emily and Jessica are still united by their love of music and the promise of an eternal friendship. They had no idea that external forces and personal ambitions would soon test the bonds they had sworn never to break. Sunrock, the lookout point where they made their promises, continued to symbolize hope and unity. Their journey was beginning, and the path ahead, though uncertain, was full of potential and possibilities. They had not yet realized that dreams, as beautiful as they are, sometimes require difficult sacrifices and choices that test even the strongest bonds. At that moment, all that mattered was the next performance or song and the certainty that they could face any challenge together. Emily and Jessica continued to shine together on Asheville stages. Their harmonious voices and captivating stage presence made them the city's rising stars. However, with growing fame came new challenges and temptations. Mark Wilson, the greedy businessman who had noticed Emily, continued to watch closely, waiting for the right moment to act. One day, after a significantly acclaimed performance, Mark approached Emily backstage. "You have a rare talent, Emily," he said, his ambitious smile gleaming under the stage lights. "With me, you can achieve real fame. I can take you places you've never imagined, but there's a price to pay." Eager to fulfill her dream and pressured by her father, Emily began to consider Mark's words. She knew this could be the opportunity she had been waiting for, but the idea of leaving Jessica behind deeply troubled her. Mark invited her for coffee one day, promising he had something important to discuss. Reluctant but curious, Emily accepted. Sitting in a discreet corner of the cafe, Mark presented a proposal. "Emily, this is your chance to record a solo album. You have talent, but you need to think big. With this contract, you can reach the top." Emily looked at the contract, feeling a whirlwind of emotions. "And Jessica? What will happen to her?" "Jessica is talented, but she doesn't have the same sparkle as you. She can continue her career. You need to think about what's best for you." The following days were full of tension. Emily tried to ignore Mark's words, but they echoed in her mind constantly. She began to distance herself from Jessica, avoiding deep conversations and spending more time alone. Jessica sensed the change but couldn't understand what was happening. That night, as they walked home, Emily was lost in thought. Jessica, noticing her friend's unease, tried to talk. "What's going on, Emily? You've been so distant lately. Is something bothering you?" Emily forced a smile. "No, Jess, I'm just tired. It was a big night." Jessica nodded, but the worry remained in her eyes. "If you need anything, I'm here. You know that." The proximity of the enormous talent contest increased the pressure. Emily was torn between her loyalty to Jessica and the growing ambition fueled by Mark. The businessman continued to poison Emily's mind, saying she needed to leave Jessica behind to shine. "You're the star, Emily. Don't let anyone dim your shine," he would say. Flashbacks revealed sweet moments of friendship, sunny afternoons singing in the park, sleepovers planning their music careers, and promises to always be together. But now, Emily feels the weight of these memories as she considers betraying her best friend. The night before the contest, Emily made a decision that would change everything. Influenced by Mark, she went to Jessica's house with a plan. The two were rehearsing for the contest when Emily suggested they use a new composition Jessica had recently written. "It's perfect for the contest, Jess. It will guarantee our victory." Jessica, completely trusting Emily, agreed. She handed the sheet music to Emily, not knowing her friend intended to use it for her own benefit. The next day, just before the contest began, Emily approached the organizers and presented the song as her own. When Jessica took the stage, she realized the betrayal. Emily was there, singing the song she had written, taking all the credit. Jessica's face was full of shock and pain as she watched her friend shine under the spotlights, knowing the betrayal had been consummated. Emily won the contest, but the price of victory was too high. While she was acclaimed by the audience and the media, a bottomless emptiness began to grow inside her. The victory should have been sweet, but the betrayal left a bitter taste she couldn't ignore. Backstage, after the victory announcement, Jessica confronted Emily. "How could you do this to me? I trusted you, Emily." Emily, feeling the weight of her actions, tried to justify herself. "Jess, I just wanted a chance. Mark said this was my only opportunity." With tears in her eyes, Jessica replied, "And you thought it was worth betraying our friendship for that? I never thought you could be so selfish." Jessica's words pierced Emily's heart, but it was too late to turn back. The once strong friendship began to crumble. Emily left the auditorium with the trophy in her hands but felt more alone than ever. Emily quickly rose to fame after winning the talent contest. Her charming voice and captivating stage presence won over the public, and soon she was signing contracts, recording albums, and performing at major events. The glamorous life she had always dreamed of was finally becoming a reality. Still, amid the spotlight's glow, Emily felt a growing emptiness. At first, the frenzy of fame was intoxicating. Emily was invited to gala events, TV interviews, and photo shoots for magazine covers. She had become a media darling, and her debut album quickly climbed to the top of the charts. However, the reality was very different behind the cameras and away from the stages. Jessica's betrayal weighed heavily on Emily's heart. Every time she took the stage to sing the song she had stolen from her friend, she felt a pang of guilt. The applause and adoration of the fans couldn't fill the void the betrayal had left. Emily found herself increasingly lonely, isolated by the choices she had made. The backstage of the music industry revealed itself to be a minefield of pressures and rivalries. Mark Wilson, the businessman who had guided her to stardom, had become a controlling figure in her life. He monitored Emily's every move, demanding perfection in all performances and ensuring she stayed at the top at any cost. "Emily, you need to focus," Mark would constantly say. "There's a lot of competition out there. We can't afford any mistakes." Emily spent exhausting hours in rehearsals and recordings, rarely having time to rest. Mark's constant demands and the pressure to maintain her popularity left her emotionally drained. Rivalries with other artists also intensified, creating an atmosphere of tension and mistrust. One night, after a sold-out show in New York, Emily found herself alone in her dressing room. She looked in the mirror and hardly recognized the person she saw. The young woman, full of dreams and hope, had turned into someone consumed by guilt and loneliness. Her thoughts frequently returned to Jessica and the happy moments they had shared. She constantly remembered the sunny afternoons in the park, the sleepovers planning their music careers, and the promises to never let anything separate them. Emily felt the pain of losing the friendship with overwhelming intensity. Fame and the adulation of fans couldn't replace what she had destroyed. During an interview, a journalist asked about her friendship with Jessica. Emily was disconcerted and tried to change the subject, but the reporter insisted. "Many fans are curious about what happened between you and Jessica. You were so close. Is there any chance of reconciliation?" Feeling a lump in her throat, Emily replied with difficulty, "Jessica will always be an important part of my life. I hope one day we can understand each other." The words came out, but Emily knew the path to reconciliation would be long and difficult. After the interview, Mark scolded her. "You can't afford to look weak, Emily. The public wants to see a confident star, not someone lamenting the past." The pressure to maintain a perfect image began to weigh even more. Emily became increasingly trapped in a life of appearances, where her genuine emotions had to be hidden. She threw herself into work, trying to drown out the guilt and loneliness, but the emptiness grew. One sleepless night, Emily decided to call Jessica. After hesitating for a long time, she finally dialed the number. The call went to voicemail. Emily left a message, her voice trembling with emotion. "Hi, Jess. It's Emily. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. I miss our friendship. I hope one day we can talk." Hanging up the phone did not bring immediate relief. Emily knew it would take more than an apology to fix what she had broken, but it was a first step. The pain of betrayal and the emptiness of fame continued to haunt her. Still, Emily realized that facing these feelings was the only way to find peace. The following days brought a series of shows and events, but the message left for Jessica remained on her mind. Emily clung to the hope that eventually her friend would listen and give forgiveness a chance. However, until that day, Emily would continue to face the emptiness of her glamorous life and the constant struggle to stay at the top. Emily's life continued to revolve around tours, recordings, and high-profile events, but the feeling of emptiness persisted. The guilt over betraying Jessica haunted her, and loneliness was a constant in her life. During an exhausting tour, Emily began to notice the first signs that something was wrong with her health. She felt constantly tired, and a persistent pain in her back and abdomen tormented her. Initially, Emily ignored the symptoms, attributing them to stress and the intense work routine. But her body couldn't take it during a show in Los Angeles anymore. She fainted on stage, leaving her fans in shock and being rushed to the hospital. There, after a series of tests, came the devastating news. Emily had advanced kidney disease and needed a kidney transplant to survive. The revelation was a hard blow. Emily felt the ground disappear beneath her feet as the doctors explained the severity of the situation. The news of her illness was overwhelming, and the prospect of finding a compatible donor seemed a monumental task. "Time is crucial," the doctor said, "but finding a suitable donor can take months, even years." Mark Wilson, her businessman, tried to keep the news away from the media, but inevitably, the story leaked. Soon the tabloids were filled with sensational headlines about Emily's condition. "Pop star in danger. Emily needs a kidney transplant," blared the magazine and newspaper covers. The public exposure of her illness brought a new level of stress. Paparazzi and reporters surrounded Emily wherever she went, trying to extract statements about her condition and prognosis. Cruel comments and speculations about her health quickly spread on social media, further increasing her despair. As if the media pressure over her illness wasn't enough, an old story resurfaced, complicating her situation even more. Investigative reporters and TV shows began to recall Emily's betrayal at the talent contest. "Betrayal and regret. Emily's dark past," the headlines read. The stories detail how Emily betrayed her best friend to achieve fame, stealing and presenting a composition as her own. The narrative of betrayal added an extra layer of tension and drama to Emily's already complicated situation. Fans, once passionate, were now divided. Many expressed their unconditional support, while others criticized her ethics and integrity. The relentless media assault left Emily even more vulnerable. Whenever she opened a magazine or turned on the TV, she was confronted with painful reminders of her actions. The public pressure for her to redeem herself and find a compatible donor became overwhelming. Emily found herself fighting not only her illness, but also the demons of her past. The search for a donor continued unsuccessfully, and Emily's health deteriorated day by day. Every hospital visit was a cruel reminder of life's fragility. The physical pain was constant, but the emotional weight of her betrayal and public exposure made the fight even harder. As she lay in her bed, lonely and haunted by camera flashes and tabloid headlines, Emily reflected on her choices and the devastating consequences they brought. The life she had built on fame and success now seemed crumbling around her. The illness forced her to confront her actions and the harsh reality that fame could not protect her from the mistakes of the past. The days passed slowly, each bringing new challenges and little hope. Once bright and untouchable, Emily's image was now stained by scandal and illness. But amid the chaos and despair, she began to understand that true healing would not come only from a kidney transplant, but from a deep process of redemption and self-understanding. Emily knew her journey was far from over. The road ahead would be arduous, but she was determined to fight, not only for her life, but also for the chance to repair the damage caused and find the peace she so longed for. And so, while the world continued to watch, Emily faced her greatest battle, seeking not just physical healing, but also spiritual and emotional redemption. Emily, increasingly weakened by her illness, was desperate. The search for a compatible donor was proving fruitless, and she knew she needed to make a difficult decision to seek out Jessica. Though they had been estranged for years, Emily knew she had to try. She gathered all the courage she had left and decided to go to Jessica's house. After a long journey, Emily arrived in a modest neighborhood on the outskirts of Asheville. Jessica's house was simple but well kept, reflecting a life of humility and contentment. Trembling nervously, Emily walked up to the door and rang the bell. The sound seemed to echo endlessly before Jessica finally opened the door. Jessica stood there, surprised to see Emily. Her eyes revealed a mix of emotions: shock, pain, and a cold resistance. "Emily, what are you doing here?" Emily swallowed hard, fighting back tears. "Hi, Jessica. I needed to talk to you. Please, let me in." Reluctantly, Jessica stepped aside, allowing Emily to enter. The reunion was tense, and the silence between them was almost palpable. Sitting in the living room, the tension continued to build. "Why did you come here, Emily?" Jessica finally asked, her voice hard. "After everything that happened, what do you want?" Emily took a deep breath, feeling the weight of her words. "I know what I did was unforgivable, Jess. I betrayed your trust and destroyed our friendship. But I'm desperate. I'm very sick and need a kidney transplant. I didn't know who else to turn to." Jessica looked at Emily, the pain evident in her eyes. "And you thought coming to me, after everything, would be the solution? Do you expect me to forget everything and help you?" Emily bowed her head, tears streaming down her face. "I don't expect you to forget or forgive me. I'm asking for a chance to make things right and do the right thing." Jessica sighed deeply, fighting the conflicting emotions within her. "You know it's much more complicated than that, Emily. The trust we had was destroyed." As the conversation unfolded, Emily's and Jessica's perspectives alternated, revealing the whirlwind of emotions both faced. Emily looked at Jessica, remembering the happy moments they had shared. The sunny afternoons in the park, the sleepovers planning their music careers, the promises to never let anything separate them. She felt a deep pain, realizing how much she had lost because of her unbridled ambition. "I just want a chance to make things right," Emily thought, feeling guilt and desperation. Jessica, on the other hand, was torn. Emily's betrayal had been a deep wound, something she struggled to overcome every day. But seeing her old friend so vulnerable and desperate awakened conflicting emotions. Part of her wanted to help, but another part was furious that Emily dared to ask for her help after everything. She destroyed me, Jessica thought, feeling the anger and pain mixed with reluctant compassion. After a long silence, Jessica finally spoke. "I can't give you an answer right now, Emily. I need time to think. This isn't something I can decide immediately." Emily nodded, understanding Jessica's hesitation. "I understand, Jess. Thank you for listening, and I'm really sorry." Jessica watched Emily as she stood up to leave. "I'll think about it," Jessica said, her voice softer. "But know that this doesn't erase what happened." Emily left Jessica's house feeling even more vulnerable, but there was a glimmer of hope. She knew the path to reconciliation would be long and difficult. Still, she was willing to do whatever it took to repair the damage caused. In the following days, Emily anxiously waited for Jessica's response as her health deteriorated. The media soon discovered the reunion and began speculating about a possible reconciliation. The headlines were filled with questions and assumptions, adding more pressure to the already tense situation. Meanwhile, Jessica struggled internally, reflecting on Emily's request. She knew that helping Emily would be an act of compassion, but she also felt she couldn't ignore the pain she still carried. The memories of their once solid friendship were now shadows of the past. However, a part of Jessica still wanted to believe redemption was possible. Finally, Jessica decided she needed more time to process everything. She called Emily and left a message. "Emily, I need more time. This isn't easy for me, and I need to think about what this really means. But I want you to know I'm considering the possibility." Emily listened to the message with tears, feeling relief and uncertainty. She knew that Jessica's forgiveness, if it came, would be a long process, but she was willing to wait, fight, and redeem herself for her health and the friendship that once meant everything to her. The days following the park meeting were filled with anxious waiting for Emily. Jessica's confirmation that she would undergo compatibility tests filled her heart with hope and fear. What if Jessica wasn't compatible? What if she changed her mind? Emily knew she had to keep faith, but the uncertainty was crushing. Jessica, on her part, reflected deeply on what it meant to help Emily. The betrayal was still an open wound, and although the decision to undergo the test was an important step, complete forgiveness was far from being reached. However, seeing Emily so vulnerable and desperate awakened her compassion that she couldn't ignore it. On the day the test results were ready, Jessica called Emily. Her voice was calm but filled with tension. "Emily, the results are out. Can we meet at the park again?" Emily felt her heart race. "Of course, Jessica. I'll be there in half an hour." Upon arriving at the park, Emily saw Jessica sitting on the bench, looking pensively at the lake. She approached slowly, sitting next to her friend. Jessica turned to her, her eyes meeting Emily's. "The results are positive. I'm compatible." Emily sighed deeply, tears of relief streaming down her face. "Jessica, I don't know how to thank you. This means so much to me." Jessica kept her gaze steady. "Emily, this doesn't mean everything is forgiven. There's still a lot of pain, and we need to work on that. But I'm willing to try because everyone deserves a second chance." Emily nodded, understanding the depth of Jessica's words. "I understand, and I promise to do whatever it takes to show I am worthy of this chance." The emotions of this moment were intense. Emily felt relief, gratitude, and fear for the future. Jessica, on the other hand, was determined but also vulnerable. She knew she was making an important decision and wanted to ensure Emily understood her condition's seriousness. In the following days, as they prepared for the surgery, Jessica and Emily started meeting regularly. The conversations were often painful but necessary. Emily began to open up about what led her to betray Jessica, talking about the pressure she felt and how she let herself be consumed by ambition. Jessica, in turn, expressed the depth of her pain and the difficulty of trusting again. These meetings brought out a range of intense emotions. One day, they decided to return to Margaret's house, Jessica's mother, where many happy memories were created. Upon entering, they were greeted with a familiar warmth that reminded them of simpler times. "It's good to see you together again," said Margaret, hugging them both. "I always knew your friendship was strong enough to overcome anything." Margaret's words deeply touched Emily and Jessica. Sitting in the living room, they talked about their days there, playing music and dreaming about the future. Margaret made tea and joined them, listening patiently as they spoke of their lives since they were last all together. Margaret's welcoming atmosphere and unconditional support helped ease some of the tension. Jessica began to feel that, perhaps, reconciliation was possible. Emily, in turn, felt strengthened by the presence of people who believed in her. Finally, the day of the surgery was approaching. Emily and Jessica spent the eve together, reflecting on the path that brought them to that moment. "No matter what happens, Jess, I want you to know I am eternally grateful. I will do my best to honor this chance." Jessica held Emily's hand, her eyes full of determination. "We'll get through this together, and when it's all over, we can start over." At the hospital, moments before being taken to the operating room, they hugged for a long time. They felt the weight of their journey and the promise of a new beginning. "We're ready," said Emily, feeling an unexpected calm. Emotions were running high. Emily felt a mix of nervousness and hope. Jessica, despite maintaining a calm facade, felt an internal turmoil. She was about to take a huge step that could define the future for both of them. As they waited, Jessica watched Emily closely. She saw in her friend a vulnerability that hadn't been there before. This openness spoke of genuine remorse and a sincere desire to change. For a moment, Jessica felt a spark of hope. Perhaps this was a chance for them to redeem themselves and build something beautiful from the wreckage. "I believe in you, Emily," said Jessica, breaking the silence. "I know this is hard for both of us, but I'm here for you. We'll do this together." Emily squeezed Jessica's hand, feeling the strength of that commitment. "Thank you, Jessica, for everything. I promise I won't waste this opportunity." The last thing they both remembered before entering the operating room was the feeling of being together, facing the future with courage and determination. It was a moment charged with emotion, a mix of fear, hope, and a firm resolution that no matter what happened, they were ready to start anew. And so, as the operating room doors closed, Emily and Jessica prepared for the next phase of their lives. The surgery was a success. Emily woke up in the recovery room, feeling relief and extreme fatigue. Beside her, Jessica also regained consciousness. The two friends exchanged a look full of emotions. They were alive and, more than that, had a new chance to fix their lives and their friendship. The days following the operation were slow and delicate. Emily spent the first few days in the ICU, under careful medical observation. Jessica, despite her own recovery, insisted on staying close. She wanted to ensure Emily was well and to fulfill her promise of unconditional support. At first, the physical pain was intense for both. Emily felt a constant discomfort, but the hope of a new life was a potent emotional analgesic. Jessica, in turn, dealt with post-operative pain but found strength in the decision she had made. The hospital became a place of rebirth for them. Jessica visited Emily daily, bringing books, music, and, most importantly, conversations. The two spent hours talking about the past, present, and future. Jessica began to realize that, despite everything, her decision to help Emily had brought her a sense of peace and purpose she hadn't felt in a long time. One day, as she watched Emily sleep, Jessica was surprised by Margaret's arrival. "How are things going?" her mother asked, sitting beside Emily's bed. "We're getting better daily," Jessica replied, smiling slightly. "The recovery is slow, but we're making progress." Margaret looked at the two with a proud glow in her eyes. "You two have always been strong. I knew you'd find a way to overcome this." Margaret's presence brought additional comfort. She helped take care of both, providing emotional support only a mother could offer. The strength of family traditions and unconditional love was palpable, creating an environment of healing and renewal. As the days turned into weeks, Emily began to regain her strength. She started walking down the hospital corridor, initially with difficulty, but each day more firmly. Jessica was by her side, encouraging her and celebrating every small victory. "You're doing great, Emily," said Jessica, holding her friend's arm as they walked. "I'm so proud of you." Emily, breathless but determined, smiled in response. "I couldn't have done it without you, Jess. Thank you for not giving up on me." Jessica's recovery also progressed. Although she still felt pain, she knew that her decision to help Emily had been the right one. She felt lighter, as if a huge weight had been lifted from her shoulders. Finally, the day came when Emily was discharged from the hospital. As she walked out the door, she was greeted by a group of fans and reporters who had followed her journey. Sensational headlines gave way to stories of hope and redemption, and the public was eager to see Emily rise again. "Emily, how do you feel after the surgery?" a reporter asked, extending the microphone toward her. Emily, still weak but determined, smiled. "I'm extremely grateful. The journey hasn't been easy, but the support from everyone, especially Jessica, has given me the strength to continue. I want this second chance to inspire others to seek forgiveness and redemption." Jessica, standing beside Emily, felt a wave of pride and relief. The friend she had known and loved was back, more robust and wiser. They knew the healing journey was far from over, but they were ready to face the future together. In the following months, Emily and Jessica worked hard to rebuild their lives and their friendships. They decided to return to the studio, this time not as competitors but collaborators. The songs they created together reflected their journey, an entire journey of pain, regret, hope, and renewed love. One night, during a recording session, Emily looked at Jessica with tears. "Jess, I'm so happy we're doing this together again. I would never have made it without you." Jessica smiled, her own eyes shining with emotion. "Me too, Emily. Our path was difficult, but we're here, stronger than ever." The album they produced became a success, not just for its catchy melodies, but also for the powerful story behind the lyrics. The media and fans were captivated by the authenticity and depth of the songs. Emily and Jessica became symbols of resilience and redemption. At a significant benefit concert where they performed for an emotional crowd, Emily and Jessica sang together a song they wrote about their journey. At the end, the audience gave a standing ovation, many people with tears in their eyes. The message of hope and forgiveness resonated strongly. After the show, Emily hugged Jessica tightly backstage. "Jess, you saved my life in more ways than one. I'll never be able to thank you enough." Jessica returned the hug, feeling a deep peace. "We're in this together, Emily. Always have been." Emily and Jessica's journey showed the world that forgiveness and compassion can pave the way for redemption and rebirth, even in the most challenging circumstances. As they continued walking together, building a future based on renewed trust and true love, their story became a beacon of hope for all those struggling with their demons and seeking a second chance.